Hey everyone, and welcome. If you spent any time with Kubernetes, you've definitely run into this. You deploy a pod, and it just sits there, pending, forever. Well, today, we're going to be detectives and solve one of the most common Kubernetes mysteries out there, the case of the insufficient CPU error.
It's a feeling every developer knows, right? You've got your app, it's all containerized, you hit kubectl apply, and you're expecting magic, but you get nothing. It's the one question that can kick off a whole afternoon of debugging. So why won't it start?
And here he is, the villain of our story. You check the status and you see this one word, pending. What's so frustrating is that it's not crashing, there's no error, it's just waiting. But what on earth is it waiting for? Let's find out.
All right, time to start our investigation. And our number one tool for the job? You guessed it, kubectl. This is how we're going to gather our clues, how we're going to interrogate the cluster and figure out exactly what's up.
Believe it or not, getting to the bottom of this is a super simple two-step process. First, you just confirm what you already know with kubectl get pods. Yep, still pending. But then, and this is the most important part, you run kubectl describe pod. This is where Kubernetes spills all its secrets.
And bam, there it is, our smoking gun. If you look down in the events section of that describe command, you'll see this message. And you know what? It's not even trying to be mysterious. It's telling us exactly what's wrong. Insufficient CPU. The scheduler looked at all the nodes, in this case, 1, and found that 0 of them could handle what our pod was asking for.
Okay, so we've got our big clue, insufficient CPU. Now we can really zero in on the cause of the problem. This whole thing boils down to a classic mismatch between what our pod wants and what our cluster can actually give. So where is this big request even coming from? Well, if we pop open our pod's YAML file and look for the resources block, we find the culprit. Right there, under requests, it's asking for a CPU value of 4. This is us telling Kubernetes, hey, this pod absolutely needs 4 full CPU cores just to get out of bed in the morning. And this brings us to the core of the conflict. Literally, our pod is demanding 4 CPU cores, but the node in our cluster, which might be something simple for development like Minikube, could only have 2 cores available in total. It's kind of like trying to park a massive delivery truck in a parking spot that's clearly marked for compact cars only. It's not going to happen. Now, to get a little more technical for a second, the number Kubernetes really cares about isn't the total CPU on the machine. It's what we call allocatable CPU. See, the operating system and Kubernetes itself need to reserve some resources to function. What's left over for your pods is the allocatable part. So even if your node has 20 cores, the allocatable CPU might be a little less, making that gap between request and reality even bigger.
So let's get inside the scheduler's head for a minute. You can think of it like a super smart, very strict logistics manager. Its only job is to find a good, safe home for every single pod. So when our oversized pod shows up, it goes through a very logical and very fast checklist.
Here's exactly how it plays out in the scheduler's mind. First, the new pod arrives at the front desk with a work order asking for 4 CPUs. The scheduler goes to its one and only node and asks, hey, do you have 4 allocatable CPUs free? The node checks its inventory and says, nope, sorry, not even close. The scheduler looks around, sees no other nodes, and makes its decision. No room at the end. And the result? The pod's status gets flipped to pending, and it's sent to the waiting room.
All right, enough diagnostics. We've found the cause. Now for the fun part. How do we actually fix this thing? The great news is we have a few different ways to tackle this so we can get our application running.
So we've basically got 3 solid paths we can take here. 1, we can make the pod's requests smaller. 2, we can make the cluster bigger. Or 3, we can just, clean up a bit to make some room. Let's walk through each one. Option 1 is probably the most common fix you'll use, especially in development. We just need to right-size the request. Instead of asking for 4 whole cores, we can go back to our YAML and change it to something much more reasonable, like 500M. That M stands for millicores, so 500M is just half of a single CPU core. Now that's a request our little cluster can probably handle no problem.
All right, option 2. What if your app really needs those 4 CPUs to run properly? Well then, we need a node that can actually provide them. We need to add more power. If you're using a tool like Minikube, it's as simple as restarting your cluster and telling it to use more CPUs from the get-go. Or if you're in the cloud, this just means picking a bigger, beefier virtual machine.
And our third and final option is to play a little game of resource Tetris. Maybe your cluster could run the pod, but it's already busy with other things. If there are other pods running that you don't need right now, you can simply delete them. This frees up those CPU resources and can clear a path for your important, resource-hungry pod to finally get scheduled.
Okay, so we know how to react when this happens. But what's even better, preventing it from happening in the first place. If you can get into a few good habits, you'll save yourself a ton of debugging time down the road.
So what are these good habits? Well, first and most importantly, always try to right-size your requests. Use monitoring tools to see what your app actually uses in the real world, not what you guess it needs. A fantastic practice is to set your CPU requests lower than your CPU limit. This gives your pod what's called a burstable quality of service. It means it's guaranteed its request, but it can burst up and use more CPU, all the way to the limit if it's available. And finally, get familiar with the command kube control top nodes. It gives you a live, real-time look at how much CPU and memory your nodes are using. Super useful.
And that brings us to the main takeaway here. That pending pod, it's not a bug. It's actually Kubernetes doing its job perfectly. It's protecting the cluster from being overloaded. This entire process forces us to be smarter and more deliberate about the resources our apps need. So the question I want to leave you with is this: are your pod requests actually right-sized for your cluster? Really thinking about that will make you a way more effective Kubernetes user. Thanks for tuning in.